One world, your station.
Hey Parvathy, how are you doing? Many congratulations. 24 hours away from what promises to be an absolutely beautiful film. You must be really excited by this.
I am very excited. I'm usually very wary of hype in general. Like for me, it's like this build-up is like happening for a while, but I'm very excited about this, especially because it's not just my film. It's a bunch of films and I get to watch other works. So I'm very excited about that.
Doing sync sound, and I imagine you filmed in sync sound, is not an easy for a thing for a Malayali girl who's coming to do Tamil cinema. I know that the emotion is more important than the language, but the fact that Tamil has so many dialects, Parvati, depending on what region your particular character is from. And it's also, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since you did a Tamil film. So getting into the rhythm of the language and the kind of dialect that your character has couldn't have been an easy thing. You want to take me through that process, please?
So for me, one of the best things that happened to me was my first Tamil film, which was Poo, which was directed by Shashi sir. And he's an absolute dream to work with because I couldn't have found a better director to work with my very first Tamil film, because I had to play a girl who's from, Virudunagar, Rajapalayam area, who's working in a patas factory, who's from that entire space. So he took me there. We went there for recce, and I got to actually mimic and learn that dialect. And that's when, mind you, I did not know Tamil at all. Like I couldn't even comprehend Tamil for me to. So it was basic mimicking that got me eventually to start thinking in Tamil, speak in Tamil. And then Marian happened. Even that had a slight little accent here and there. I struggled hard on that. Chinmay, I remember, was of great help. In fact, at one point, I remember telling Bala sir, please call in Chinmay to do the dubbing, because I think I'll mess it up. So, and then Uttama Villain, Chennai Lirunal and all was still fine. But this one, I don't know what confidence Ratindran and Siddharth gave me. I did not even think twice about the fact that it was Sing Sound, but I knew that Ratindran was able to send me, he used to send me voice notes of exactly how the mouth goes when you say a certain word. So I did that age old technique of mimicking it several times, 20 times, 30 times, so that it becomes like second nature for me to just say it like that. And then for me to just be present with the emotion. So it was a trial and error. I'm hoping, see, for the reviews I'm getting from Siddharth and Ratindran is that I have nailed it. But when it comes out to the entire public is when I'll actually get the feedback. But it was a great challenge for me to exercise that again, because not only am I new to feeling the feelings that the character is feeling in the arc of the story, I also had to nail this. And some of the shots were just this one single shot where the camera is just on me while I deliver a one-page dialogue. And I don't know, I think I just like dubki maro bas, like there's nothing else to do. Like there is no shortcut. Yeah.
That's a nice way of describing it. Dubki maroing in there. Now, actors being invested in a project as a producer. How do you view that? Because Sid is also the producer of this one, as opposed to actors who come on and just do their principal job, which is acting. What do you think an actor producer adds in terms of flavoring, Parvati? I'd like you to talk about that, please.
I think the biggest flavor they bring in is understanding the scope and work that an actor who takes their preparation very seriously is respected. With Siddharth, that's what I got. Like, I worked in several situations where no judgments, where the idea of a preparing actor puts people off. Like, it's like, oh, thinking actor, that. I'm like, who doesn't think? Like, everyone's a thinking actor. Everyone wants to prepare a little bit in their own way. I happen to like the whole roller coaster of preparing in every single possible way. That gives me the kick that I'm looking for, the psychological kick and whatnot. It doesn't hurt anybody. So I always try to find those pockets of time, pockets of preparation space with producers and directors who aren't that welcoming of it. So for me to find a co-actor who is equally, okay, now Siddharth may not have to be as hardworking in terms of preparation because his brain is like I keep calling him Benjamin Button, like he's got I think 15 brains. He retains things like nobody's business, and but he can see that I have my process. And for a 3 day shoot, a 2 day shoot was it? It felt like real quick. We had a whole 2 days preparation time. Now that's an extra in the budget that he could have easily saved. Bringing me in 2 days early, 2 days only spent for the director and the actors to read lines and costume prep and everything. Now, that for a short film, the producer could have done away with that, and he didn't do it. So, for me, that understanding and respect for an actor's process is what an actor producer would bring in. Hopefully, other people, other actor producers are also like that. But Siddharth turned out to be good, and now the standards are up high in my head.
It's really beautifully explained. Now, Ratindran is somebody who's been around, but hasn't really had mainstream releases coming at regular intervals. I understand that a couple of films are filmed lying in the cans, things like that. But the whispers doing the rounds of the Tamil film industry is that here's a guy who's pretty much sorted as far as his technique is concerned, his mastery over the craft is concerned. Was that ever a factor for you, saying, here's a guy who's, I mean, considering you're in the industry now for what, 16 years? I mean, you've done your fair share. You're regarded as a very accomplished actress. Does that ever worry you in terms of how much this director has done? And must have been then a pleasant surprise working with a Ratindran. So let's talk about those factors, please.
No, so I working with Ratindran, it never really felt like, oh, this is the first time I had heard of Ratindran was when Siddharth told me about him, that he's the one directing this. Now, it goes a long way when a respectable actor, producer like Siddharth is backing a director like him. And also said, he's done certain other projects and this Bhumika that's coming out soon, hopefully. Like, I'm really looking forward to Ratindran's work coming out. Um, and all it took was one conversation with him. I found he enjoys conversations. He enjoys like deep dive into analyzing scripts and characters just like me. So for me, it didn't really matter what technique he would bring in. That's always a leap of faith, even with like very well established directors. You can't go in thinking, oh, they're going to do a good job. They can actually mess it up too. So that leap of faith always exists with no matter who I work with. But Ratindran, there was this intrinsic faith in just the way he spoke in those Zoom calls before we got to meet, and we worked on set. He's very invested in wanting to understand where you are as a character. I remember for even the teaser shoot with Bharat Bala, that the one that it's with the, oh my god, the Bolt camera. I remember he was present there just to see if I'd need some help in wanting to retain certain aspects of Ahida. And I really love it. I really love it when you have like a, had Jodie Foster is the one I heard very at the very first time. Like a good director is like a parent, they know where the boundaries are, but will let you roam free and find your own pathway. They'll just know the larger boundary. Ratindran is in that sort, like a really good parent. He knows what he wants. He knows exactly in what technical aspects he's so brilliant. He knows what he's going to bring in. So you're safe. You just can like expand and explode in your own way as an actor, and he will just use it to the best of its abilities.
Which naturally segues into my next question about the teaser which Bharat Bala filmed. Now, in that aspect, the teaser itself is quite cutting edge. I mean, it's nothing like most people have seen before. People are watching it and going, whoa. And I'm not just talking about the black and white and the slow-mo of it, but I don't know what they've done. They've slowed it down to such an extent that even small nuances, that the quivering of the lip and stuff is visible. Now, when you go onto a set like that as an actor, do you get shown a reference? I don't know if you were first on that teaser set or, number 4 or number 5. Were you shown what is the end result? Or did you have to wing that and go by gut instinct? Because it's turned out absolutely fabulous, not just your portions, but everybody else in the teaser too.
With me, one of the again amazing things is that the same day I went there, there was Siddharth as well. So not that we were both taking shots. Like, I mean, it was mine was done first, and then he went on. But then it was Bharat Bala, and I was going to work with him again on a shoot after like I think 7-8 years. So that was exciting. And I knew with Bharat Bala's vision, it was going to be eccentric. So there was not going to be like a plan to the chaos. But I know it's the plan is in his head, and he just wouldn't tell me. Like I remember shooting Nature Avalirundal for Marianne, and it would be all this extreme slow motion of my toe going in the sand and me looking up at the sky. And I'm thinking, what as an actor am I supposed to think when I'm looking up? He's like, just do it, okay, just feel and you do it. And then he cut the whole thing, and I was blown away, like the way his mind works. So immediate leap of faith, an immediate like a trust fall when it comes to a set like that. But what was extremely difficult is, you got kind of underestimated how much of facial muscle work I may have had to do before. I think I might have been able to do a better job if I was a little more prepared. There was a acting coach, Pooja, who was also present, and her shots were actually shown first. She showed how she did it, and she also showed in how many seconds the camera would pan to the other side and how many seconds you have to do it. So it looks extremely funny for you to go from like one to probably five emotions in about a second and a half, because you feel like, oh, maybe you're not doing a good job. Maybe the transition between one and the other is not as authentic when you're trying to do it that fast. You become so mechanical after a point. I thought it'll be fun, it'll be short, quick, sweet, all that, but it was probably the most exhausting experience to just be able to, because it's just this much, and the rest of the body is not there to help you communicate. It's just the face. I did a lot of emotions. In fact, I know that I belong to the fear space, but I think I did a lot. After a while, I started using my sound. I started screaming so that there was something to what I knew that the scream is not going to make it, but I needed to do several voice modulations for me to get the emotion right or get the impact right. So yeah, it was. I would like to do it a couple of more times to get a hang of it to be sure, but that was like one of the weirdest, craziest things I did.
Great. So you've sampled a bit, and you can't wait to get more. That's lovely. Now, I know this is a cliched. I know this is a cliched question, Parvati, but when is the media ever going to get to ask you what you're fearful of? Because this project is associated with fear. Previous and future projects might not be. So, in your personal life, is there something that you're really really fearful of? And how good are you at trying to combat that particular fear? I know it's a cliched one, but gotta know.
I am fearful of several things. I don't want to be without fear. I feel like fear is something, but it's something to regulate for sure. I know that it's kind of at least for me, it's foolish to think that fear will completely leave my mind. I mean, that's a sort of awakened state I'm not even looking at achieving at this point in my life, maybe at some other point. But I feel there's several fears, and for me, one of the main things is losing a sense of self. uh, I don't really need to know all the things about myself, but I definitely don't want to be unaware to such an extent that I become like a sum total of the perceptions of me, be it the people who are watching me on camera, general public, or people in my personal life. Because I know I'm a very thin skinned person. Like my mind, the skin on my mind, so to speak, is like a very permeable nature. It just keeps taking things in, and that makes me a really good artist. I think that helps me imbibe a lot of emotions, and I hopefully become a better vessel for it. But that also puts me at risk of losing that sense of self. I think for me, that's my biggest fear, which gets me really disciplined to spend time by myself, question myself enough. Um, as much as I hate it, but also love solitude, all these things become extremely important. So I know it's a big ass philosophical answer, but this is my biggest fear, guys. Like, I'm not even as scared of cockroaches as Siddharth is, but for me, this is actually my. Oh,
You
and
know,
water. Want like a
water.
regular human person answer to it. I'm scared of water now, but I also am someone who gets very challenged if I have a fear like that. I'm like, I'm definitely going to do uh, a character where I'm swimming the English Channel or something, and I learn how to swim for that.
Wonderful. You know, I was speaking to Bijoy Nambiar, and I know that Bijoy and you are buddies, and it's an interesting aspect that he delved into, and I want to ask you about that. And he said, you know, even though he's dealing with karuna, which is compassion in Navarasa, he would naturally gravitate towards making a film on anger. But unfortunately, that was already taken because, you know, it's Mani sir, it's his guru, and Arvind was already directing that. So, you know, here are you get offered fear. Sid is the producer. He makes the call. You end up doing it. But is there another emotion that you very strongly associate with in the Navrasas? Given a choice, please.
I don't know. Fear was definitely up in the list. I didn't even realize fear is what I needed as an actor to experience. Because I've played characters who are always like either finding their strength or is already very strong. And I will never get tired of playing strong women because duh, it's fun. But fear is an aspect, like I've said before, it's a mind corrupter. The more that's the worst thing you can do to another person is to consciously or unconsciously inflict fear, and that can grow leaps and bounds on the other person's mind, and it's the worst form of mind cancer you can inflict on a person. You can never take it back, and you'll never know where that will take the other person to. So you got to be very conscious of what you're doing with your words and your actions. If it's inflicting fear, you are a terrible person. So that definitely was high on the list. But you know what else really excites me is disgust. Disgust is an emotion that is extremely exciting for me because we are constantly in this zone of wanting to be good people. I'm not angry. I'm a nice person. I like people. I want to love everyone, kind of a space. But there are people in our lives whom we are persistently angry with, annoyed with, disgusted by, but we still have them around. So how do we navigate through life with disgust? Like, we all have it. So we manipulate ourselves into believing we don't have disgust, but we do. So it kind of, that journey would have really opened a lot of self-awareness channels for me, so to speak. So yeah, that would have been it.
That's a lovely answer. So I know this is a tough one for actors who can't give out spoilers, especially in a story like In My, which is bhay, fear. But what's Vahida all about? Can you tell us?
I just like, what I really love about this job is that I don't think I'll ever stop finding more things about a character after I've played them. Like, I played Vahida last year. October first week is when we shot this film. It's going to be almost a year now, this October, right? And I still find newer aspects of Vahida from when I performed. I mean, whatever I performed, I'd never take it back. I did my best with whatever information I had then. But the more I think in hindsight, Vahida is such a kick-ass character for me. Like, I judged her very harshly when I read it for the first time, which is one of the main reasons I jumped into. Because now, if I'm judging her, I better get to know why she's the way she is. And I think the aspect of Vahida, and all what is Vahida all about, is survival. Like, here's an actual human who takes survival very, very seriously. And I admire her for that. No matter what happens in the story, Vahida, it'll be hard for you to not be impressed by her.
That's a
What
great
I
way
think.
to great way
I'm not
to
talking
put it.
about, just to be clear, I'm not saying you'll be impressed by Parvati. I'm saying Vahida.
My last question, and let's wrap with this, is a bit of a tribute to Irfan. We loved you so much in Kareeb Kareeb Single. Just the whole team, Irfan, you, Tanuja, coming together, and we haven't spoken since Irfan sir passed. So just your thoughts, and that'll be a nice way to close down this interview, please.
Well, that's a heavy one. I didn't see that coming. it's hard to talk about it. I don't think it's still processed. It was during the lockdown last year, and I haven't been able. The thing with actors, people like Irfan, is that I don't think you ever lose them. They're always, it's impossible. Certain aspects, certain people, like especially Irfan, you don't really think of them as gone. They're there still. So I don't know. It's a very heavy topic to discuss. So maybe
I can imagine. I can imagine. Best of luck for the release. I'm sure people are going to love it, especially fans of yours like me. Thank you very much for this conversation, Parvathy. Bye-bye. Cheers.
94.3 Radio 1. One world, your station.